Hi, I'm Miss Jarvis from the Environment English Department. Put together this short presentation to help any parent who wishes to support reading at home, particularly with a focus on the understanding aspect of reading. In English throughout the broad general education in S1 to S3, and then in the senior phase S4 to S6 in the national qualifications, a lot of focus is put on pupils being able to show their understanding of a writer's main ideas, being able to summarise the key or important points being made, and being able to show that understanding by putting things into their own words and not just using the writer's exact words. We all want to work together to support reading because we know that there has been a drop in enjoyment of reading. There's no denying that a lot of young people at least like to go on their phones more than they would pick up a book. But we know that all pupils will benefit from reading more often and more widely. We know that it improves their memory, it improves their sleep, it boosts their vocabulary, which is absolutely essential to understanding pieces of writing. We want to encourage reading different types of text. We're not always saying it has to be a book that they're reading or a big long novel. We encourage newspaper reading, just reading one article a day. Using audiobooks can be a good starting point as well. Podcasts, so it doesn't even have to be physically reading text to begin with. Magazines are another good option. So we just want to start encouraging more often, more widely. And the reason that we want to do that is because main ideas summarising in own words are assessed in so many different ways across different curriculum areas, but particularly in English. Looking at our results for the national qualifications, we know that reading for understanding is the area where pupils don't do as well. And the reason for that is because they see something in the exam that they've never seen before. It's a new piece of non-fiction, generally from a newspaper, and it will be written by a journalist, often as an opinion piece on a current affair. And young people need to have either a really good vocabulary to work out the meanings of words, or they need to be able to work out something they've never seen before using the context. And in our experience and what we're seeing really regularly is that young people are unable to do that, as well as they can write a critical essay for a piece of literature they've studied. I've given an example of the type of thing that pupils are asked to do in National 5 and higher, and these are the skills that we build towards throughout S1 to S4. You'll see that there's a 5-mark question where pupils are asked to use their own words as far as possible and explain why The Sims is a popular game. The paper that this comes from is worth 30 marks overall, so to have one question that's worth just a whole 5 marks is significant. It shows that a lot of the marks do come from being able to show understanding, to be able to pick out key points. So what you can do to help is encourage all reading enthusiastically and encourage a range of materials. Get a lot of parents saying on parents' evening, like, exasperated, they just won't read. I've tried to get them to read, and we maybe buy them a book and it just sits on the shelf gathering dust. That's okay, maybe that's not going to grab their attention, so maybe start with a newspaper article. You can go on to Guardian, it's free to look at the comment section. Particularly looking at current affairs is really good because in the assessment phase they do tend to pick things that are current relevant issues in society, so it's good to have something that we call cultural capital. Start with listening. Audiobooks and podcasts are a really good place to hear new vocabulary and So are vocabulary games and apps. We know that children absolutely love things like Wordle, Articulate, Countdown, Scrabble, play as a family, play online. It doesn't matter as long as you get an exposure to vocabulary as often as possible. I've put some links that might be useful ones. There are an abundance of newspapers, good quality journalism out there that you can access. And I'm more than happy to send out articles or give you some more suggestions. If you're struggling, you can get in touch. The main thing that I would say, especially for senior phase learners, if you want to practice the skill, is asking young people, what are they reading? What are the characters and setting like if they're reading fiction? Could they describe what they read in a chapter using just a couple of sentences? They don't need to write it down, but they could to get into the practice and using the skill regularly. If they're reading non-fiction, could they point out 2 to 3 key points made? Watching things like Newsround, BBC News, Sky News is another really good way of getting them to think about the skill of summarising and main ideas. Could they watch it and then tell you 4 headlines in their own words? Again, using own words, take any sentence from a piece of reading. Could you get them to paraphrase it in a different way? When I'm teaching this in class, I always say to pupils, imagine you were telling a 5-year-old. If a 5-year-old doesn't know what the word means, how would you explain it to them so they understood it? Hopefully this has helped. What I'd really like to do at some point in the future is have parents in to talk about what we do in English, to give some more ideas about how we could support